The night my phone rang, I heard terror in my grandson's voice. He was calling from the police station, begging me to believe him. His stepmom had accused him of something unthinkable, and my own son chose her side. That was the moment I realized I had to uncover the truth myself, no matter what it would cost. Before you hear anything else, let me ask you one thing. If someone tried to destroy your family, piece by piece, quietly, strategically, how far would you go to stop them? Would you walk away? Would you forgive? Or would you do what I did and fight like a woman with nothing left to lose? Because this isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about how a grandmother everyone underestimated became the worst nightmare of the woman who tried to tear her family apart. If you want more real-life revenge stories just like this one, make sure you're subscribed. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't easy to live through, but it's impossible to forget. My name is Margaret Vance, and the night everything changed began with a phone call from my grandson. "Grandma, please come." Please. I didn't do anything. Liam's voice was shaking so badly I could hear his breath catching. He was 15, a gentle boy, brilliant, respectful, the only light left in my life after everything I'd lost. I was already putting on my coat before he finished speaking. "Where are you?" I asked. "At the police station. Dad brought me here." "Cassie," she said, "I attacked her." My hand froze on the doorknob. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Cassandra Rowe. The woman my son Andrew had married 5 years earlier. A woman with a smile made of glass and a heart made of knives. She never fooled me, not even for a minute. But she fooled my son. She fooled everyone. And now, she was accusing my grandson of something I knew he'd never do. "I'm coming right now," I told him. It was raining outside, that cold, sharp rain that feels like needles on your skin, but I didn't notice. I rushed to the street, flagged down the first taxi I saw, and gripped the seat so hard my knuckles turned white. When I arrived at the precinct, the building glowed under a flickering street lamp. I stepped out, legs trembling, not from fear, but from fury so deep it almost felt cold. Inside, the young desk officer looked up. "Good evening, ma'am. How can I?" "I'm here for Liam Vance," I said sharply. "My grandson." He flipped through some paperwork. "Ah, the domestic assault case." "Are you his grandmother?" "Margaret Vance," I said, removing my badge from my purse. It had been years since I'd retired as a detective commander, but old habits die hard. When he saw the badge, his eyes widened. He stood immediately. "Commander Vance, forgive me, I didn't know. Where is my grandson?" "This way," he said quickly. "Captain Mercer is handling the case." Captain Charles Mercer, someone I once trained, someone I respected. If he was in charge, he'd get me the truth. Or so I hoped. He led me down the familiar hallway, the one I had walked for decades, commanding criminals, mentoring rookies, solving the worst nightmares this city had to offer. The walls, the doors, the faint smell of coffee and paper, everything came back. But nothing prepared me for what I saw in the waiting room. Liam sat on a plastic chair, his right eyebrow covered in a rough bandage, dried blood on his cheek, eyes swollen from crying. When he saw me, he jumped up and ran straight into my arms. "Grandma," he whispered, voice cracking, "I didn't do it." "I swear." I hugged him as tightly as I could. "I know, sweetheart. I know." But while I held him, my eyes were already scanning the rest of the room. My son Andrew stood by the wall, jaw clenched, arms crossed, the same stance he used as a child when he was afraid. Except he wasn't afraid of me now. He was afraid of the truth. And sitting beside him was her, Cassie Rowe. 32 years old, beautiful in that cold, modern way. Long chestnut hair falling in perfect waves, a silk robe as if she'd been dragged from bed, and a bruise, carefully placed, too fresh, too purple. Fake. Perfectly timed. Designed. She blinked at me with teary eyes like she was auditioning for a role. "Margaret," she whispered. "I'm so glad you're here. Liam needs help." Oh, she was good. Very, very good. Before I could speak, Andrew said quietly, "Mom, you didn't have to come." Those words stung more than any wound. I did, I replied. Where's Mercer? As if on cue, the office door opened and Captain Mercer stepped out. Tall, stern, uniform crisp as always. He froze when he saw me. Commander Vance, he breathed. I had no idea. You do now, I cut him off. I want the facts. All of them. He hesitated only a moment before leading Liam and me into his office. Andrew and Cassie stayed behind. The moment the door closed, Mercer sighed. Margaret, the situation is complicated. Then uncomplicate it. He opened his folder. Cassie claims that around 10:03 p.m., Liam came home late. She reprimanded him. He became aggressive, pushed her, and struck her. She has bruises consistent with the story. My stomach turned. And Liam? I asked. Mercer avoided my eyes. He says she attacked him. That she struck him with a silver candlestick. The wound on his eyebrow required 3 stitches. Did you check for the candlestick? Mercer shook his head. Cassie says it doesn't exist. Of course she did. And the cameras? I asked. He sighed. Conveniently broken. For 3 days. My jaw tightened. She planned this. Every detail. She wanted Liam out of the house, or worse. I turned to my grandson. Look at me, Liam. He slowly lifted his head, eyes trembling with shame and fear. Tell me everything, from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. He nodded. I stayed late studying at Lucas's house. I texted Dad. But when I got home, Cassie was waiting in the dark. She took Dad's phone. She'd been reading our messages. She said nobody cared about me. Then she grabbed my arm and he breathed shakily. And then she picked up the candlestick and hit me, hard. My heart stopped. She hit herself after, he whispered, to make bruises. I saw her do it. I closed my eyes. Rage surged through me, silent, controlled, deadly. This woman had crossed a line. You don't cross with me. Not with my family. Not with my grandson. I looked at Mercer. Do you believe him? He hesitated, but his eyes told me he did. My hands are tied, Margaret, he said quietly. Without evidence, it's the word of a minor against 2 adults. Then give him to me, I said. Temporary custody. He nodded, already filling out the forms. As I signed my name, I made a silent vow, one that settled deep in my bones. Cassie Rowe had declared war on the wrong woman. And I was going to end it. The ride home felt like driving through a tunnel made of fog and dread. Liam sat beside me in the back seat of the patrol car Mercer assigned, wrapped in a blanket they'd given him at the station. He leaned against my shoulder, silent. Every few minutes his breath shuddered like he was trying not to cry again. I didn't speak, not yet. My thoughts were too sharp, too loud. They pulsed like a heartbeat in my skull. Cassie planned this. She staged everything. She hurt him. She lied, and she thinks she's going to get away with it. No, not while I'm still breathing. When we reached my house, I helped Liam inside, made him tea, and settled him on the sofa. He tried to speak a few times but couldn't find the words. Trauma does that. So I let him sit, wrapped in the soft glow from the lamp by the window, and I just watched him. Watched the way his eyes blinked slowly, exhausted. The way his fingers fidgeted with the edge of the blanket. He looked so young, too young for this. When I finally did speak, I kept my voice soft. Did you eat today? He shook his head. I went to the kitchen and made him a sandwich. When I came back, he whispered, Grandma, what's going to happen to me? I knelt in front of him, took his hand, and held it tight. Nothing is going to happen to you. I won't let anyone take you away. Not now, not ever. His lip trembled and he folded into my arms again. That moment, that trembling, wordless fear, welded itself into my spine like steel. Cassie would regret ever touching him. I would make sure of it. By the time he fell asleep, curled up on the sofa, it was nearly 3 a.m. I covered him with a blanket, kissed his forehead, and went to the kitchen. I needed to think, and I needed a plan. I pulled out a notepad and wrote the first line. Why now? Why attack Liam? What does she want? The answer was obvious, but it felt too monstrous to accept. Custody. Full control over Andrew. Full control over the money. Full control over the house. The narrative. Everything. And Liam? He was in her way. I was still staring at the notepad when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Andrew. "Mom, we need to talk tomorrow." I didn't respond. Not because I didn't love my son, but because tonight I couldn't trust him. Not when he was under Cassie's shadow. He'd been slipping away for months, more distant, more defensive, more confused. She had her claws in him deep. I poured a cup of cold coffee and stood at the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. The city lights blurred into long golden lines. Everything felt slow, surreal. Then my doorbell rang. It was nearly 4 in the morning. I stiffened instantly, hand hovering near the drawer where I kept my old service weapon. Locked, unloaded, but still there. I approached the door quietly, checked the camera, and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Linda. Detective Linda Perez. My friend, my former partner, one of the only people whose judgment I trusted as much as my own. I opened the door. She stood there soaked, hair tied back, wearing her off-duty hoodie and jeans. She looked exhausted, but when she saw me, her expression softened. "You okay?" she asked. "Come in," I said. She stepped inside, shaking off her jacket. When she saw Liam asleep on the sofa, her eyes darkened. "He looks terrified." "He is," I whispered. She sighed and sat at my kitchen table while I poured her coffee. "I talked to Mercer," she said quietly. "He's walking on eggshells because of the politics." Cassie filed her statement already. Claims Liam has been aggressive for weeks. That's a lie, I know it is. But she's smart. She knows how to play the system. "Oh, she's more than smart," I said bitterly. "She's strategic. This was planned." Linda raised an eyebrow. "What makes you think she'd go this far?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and something inside me finally clicked into place. "Because she doesn't love my son," I said. "She loves control, and Liam is the only part of Andrew she can't manipulate." Linda leaned back, her face hardening. "So you think she wants him out of the picture?" "She already tried," I whispered. "Tonight was step 1. Linda rubbed her temples. "Margaret, I've seen Cassie's type before. Narcissistic. Charming. Dangerous. But I didn't think she'd escalate this quickly. She thinks Andrew is her property," I said flatly, "and she thinks Liam is a threat to her power." Linda tapped her finger on the table. "Okay, we can prove the candlestick existed. We just need evidence," she hit it. "She's not stupid," I said. "She probably got rid of it the second she hurt him." Linda nodded slowly. "Still, she'll slip. People like her always do." I reached for her hand. "I need your help, Linda. I need to protect him." "You have it," she said immediately. "Every resource I can legally use, and a few I can't. I'll put them behind you." We shared a tense silence until Linda added, "There's something else. Cassie hired a lawyer. A high-profile one. Gavin Holt." My stomach sank. Gavin Holt was known across the state, not for ethics, but for winning impossible cases by bending every rule he could without breaking them. "She's preparing for war," Linda said. This wasn't spontaneous. This was orchestrated. I closed my eyes. The picture was becoming clearer and darker with every passing minute. "This is about money," I whispered. Andrew's trust, his securities, his inheritance. She wants it all. And Liam stands between her and that future, Linda said. "Yes," she exhaled slowly. "Then we have to move fast." We spent the next hour building the skeleton of a plan. Evidence we needed. Witnesses we could contact. Gaps in Cassie's story. Weaknesses in her timeline. By the time Linda left, the sky outside was turning pale gray. I checked on Liam again. His breathing was soft, steady. He looked safe. For now. I stayed awake, thinking, analyzing, piecing together every fragment of the night. The bruise placement. The camera conveniently broken. The missing candlestick. her calmness at the station. Andrew's conflicted silence. It was all part of her architecture of lies. Just before sunrise, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Andrew. "Mom, Cassie is scared. She said Liam threatened her." I need to know the truth. I stared at the message, feeling something crack inside me. Andrew believed her, not fully, but enough to doubt his own son. Cassie had infected his mind. I typed back one sentence. "Come over this afternoon, alone." I put my phone down, went to the mirror, and looked at myself, 60 years old. Wrinkles etched from decades of solving crimes, gray hair twisted into a tired bun. Eyes sharp, determined, burning with the kind of fury that only comes from protecting blood. Cassie thought I was an old woman past her prime. She had no idea who she was dealing with, and she had no idea what I was willing to do for my grandson. By the time Andrew arrived that afternoon, the air in my house had changed. It felt heavier, sharper, like the walls themselves understood what was at stake. I heard his car door outside, the hesitant footsteps approaching my porch. He knocked twice, lightly. The kind of knock that told me he already expected conflict. I opened the door. He looked exhausted. His face was pale, his eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. He wasn't the confident man I raised. He was a husband torn between truth and manipulation, and he didn't know which side he belonged to. "Mom," he said quietly, "come in." He stepped inside and immediately scanned the room for Liam. I didn't blame him. Whatever Cassie had fed him overnight would be spinning in his head like poison. "He's resting," I said. "You can talk to him later." Andrew nodded but didn't sit. His hands shook slightly as he rubbed them together. I recognized that tremor, fear mixed with guilt. "Andrew," I began calmly, "tell me exactly what Cassie told you." He swallowed hard. She said Liam has been angry for months. That he yells at her when I'm not home. That he pushes her. That he never touched her," I cut in sharply. Andrew flinched. "Mom, please. I just want the truth." "You had the truth last night," I said. "But you didn't want to see it." He looked down, shame flickering across his face. "Cassie had bruises." She was crying. She said Liam threatened her. She said she was afraid. She staged every bit of it. He didn't respond, not because he disagreed, but because a part of him knew I was right. I could see it, slowly tearing him apart from the inside. "Andrew," I said gently, "do you honestly believe your son would ever lay a hand on her?" I don't know anymore," he whispered. Those words cut deeper than anything Cassie had done. "Look at me," I demanded. He lifted his eyes reluctantly. "Liam is the same boy he has always been. You raised him with kindness. I raised him with love. He is not violent. He is not cruel. And he is not a liar." Andrew's throat worked, but Cassie said, "Cassie lies," I snapped. "Like she breathes." He stepped back as if the truth physically struck him. "You've never liked her." "No," I said coldly. "Because I recognized her from the start. The way she watches people. The way she calculates everything. The way she isolates you piece by piece." He shook his head. "She loves me. She loves control," I corrected. "And you're confusing the two." For the first time since he walked in, he didn't try to argue. So I pressed. "You know what happened last night," I said. "Deep down, you do. That bruise on her cheek? Too round, too clean, too fresh. Liam's wound? Ragged, real. And the candlestick?" Andrew stiffened. "Yes," I said. "Your wife hit your son with it. Then she hid it." "Mom, that's not—" "You saw the blood," I fired back. "On his face. On his shirt. He needed stitches, Andrew. Stitches." He closed his eyes, breathing hard. "Cassie said he hit himself with something metal to make her look guilty." "That doesn't even make sense," I shouted, finally letting out the fury boiling inside me. Andrew sank onto the sofa, head in his hands. "Why would she do this?" he whispered. I lowered my voice, softened my tone. Because she wants you, your loyalty, your assets, your entire future. And Liam stands in her way. His eyes widened with dawning horror. No, she wouldn't. She would, I said. And she did. The house fell silent. Even the ticking clock on the wall seemed to pause. Andrew's world was shattering, and I felt the old ache of a mother watching her child struggle to breathe through heartbreak. He finally whispered, "What do I do?" I sat beside him and took his hand. It felt cold. You protect your son. You stand by him, and you let me handle Cassie. He nodded slowly, but I could feel the hesitation trembling under the surface. He wasn't ready to confront the truth, not fully, but he was closer. And that was enough for now. Liam quietly appeared from the hallway, eyes swollen but hopeful. "Dad?" Andrew stood instantly. "Liam, I'm so sorry." His voice cracked as he pulled him into his arms. Liam clung to him like a drowning child to a life raft. I watched them, forcing back tears. This moment was what Cassie wanted to destroy. But she didn't get to win. Not now. Not ever. After they spoke privately, Andrew left with a conflicted promise to talk to Cassie. Those words made my stomach twist. I didn't like the idea of him going back into that woman's web, but I couldn't chain him to the truth. He had to come to it on his own. As the door closed behind him, I turned toward the hallway. "You can come out, Liam." He stepped forward, arms wrapped around himself. "Do you think he believed me?" "I think he's starting to," I said. "That's what matters. I'm scared, Grandma." "I know, sweetheart, but we're going to fight this. Together." He nodded. His bravery amazed me. Fragile, trembling, but still there. Later that evening, Linda returned with new information. She closed the door behind her and crossed her arms with the certainty of someone carrying bad news. "You're not going to like this," she said. "Tell me." Cassie filed an emergency protective order. My heart dropped. "On what grounds?" I demanded. "She claims Liam threatened to kill her." Liam gasped behind me. "I never." "I know," Linda said gently, "but she's building a case fast, Margaret." Too fast. She had the paperwork ready before noon. Someone helped her, Gavin Holt. Yes, I felt a cold anger spread through me. She's trying to paint Liam as violent so she can remove him from the house permanently. Linda nodded grimly. "And she's not stopping there. She's accusing you too." "Me?" "She claims you're coercing Liam into lying." "She's implying you're interfering with the investigation." My jaw locked. "She's escalating. She's panicking," Linda corrected. "Your involvement scared her. She knows you see right through her." "Good." Linda sat down heavily. "Margaret," I checked into Cassie's background again. I looked deeper. "Her past is messy. Very messy." "How messy?" She hesitated. "There are other victims." The room froze. "Women?" I asked. "No." Linda swallowed. "Families. Older men. Inheritances. Domestic disturbances. She's done this before." "More than once." I felt my pulse thundering in my ears. "So this wasn't about Liam at all," I whispered. "It was about Andrew from the beginning." Linda nodded. "She targets wealthy, vulnerable men with children from previous marriages. She isolates them, then she eliminates the obstacles." My blood went cold. Liam. He wasn't just an obstacle, he was a threat to her entire strategy. Linda leaned forward. "Margaret, we're not dealing with a regular liar. Cassie is a predator." I stood slowly, feeling something in me ignite, sharper than anger, deeper than fear. It was purpose. Pure, unwavering purpose. "Then she has no idea," I said quietly, "how bad her life is about to get. Because she came after my grandson. And I'm going to destroy her entire operation, piece by piece, until there's nothing left for her to hide behind." I didn't sleep the night Linda told me Cassie had done this before. How could I? Every detail of her past echoed like a warning bell in my mind. She had a pattern: target, isolate, dismantle, remove. She'd done it to at least 3 families, and now she was trying to repeat it with mine. By sunrise, I was dressed, drinking my second cup of bitter coffee and preparing my plan. I wasn't going to sit back and wait for Cassie to strike again. I'd spent decades fighting predators like her. She was clever, but I was experienced. And I had something she didn't, a truth strong enough to cut through every lie she'd ever built. Around 8 a.m., Andrew called. "Mom, Cassie wants to meet with you." Of course she did. I could practically hear her rehearsing the lines in her head, preparing crocodile tears, ready to play the misunderstood victim begging for sympathy. "Where?" I asked. "At the house." "Fine," I said. "I'll be there in an hour." Liam looked up from the couch, eyes wide. "Are you sure, Grandma?" "I don't want you to get hurt." I touched his cheek. "Sweetheart, she can't hurt me. She can only lie. And I'm very, very good at dismantling lies." Linda arrived minutes before I left. "You shouldn't go alone," she warned. "I have to," I said. "She needs to think she still has the upper hand. That's when people like her slip." Linda stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Call me if she escalates." "She will," I said. And that's exactly what I need. When I pulled up to Andrew's house, I was struck by how different it felt. It used to be warm, laughter, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. But now, the moment I stepped inside, the air felt polluted, tainted. Like the walls themselves knew evil had been living there. Cassie emerged from the living room wearing a soft blue sweater, freshly curled hair, and a bandage on her cheek. She'd even added a touch of makeup beneath the bruise to make it more dramatic. She was a master performer. I'd give her that. "Margaret," she whispered, voice trembling on cue. "Thank you for coming." I didn't answer. She gestured for me to sit, lowering herself delicately onto the sofa like a fragile victim. But her eyes, those sharp, calculating eyes, never left mine. Andrew stood awkwardly by the window. He looked torn, like he had one foot in reality and one foot still trapped in Cassie's illusions. Cassie began her performance. "I know you think the worst of me," she said softly, "but I love Andrew. And I love Liam. I'm not a monster. I'm just scared." "Scared of what exactly?" I asked. She took a shaky breath. "Too shaky. Overdone." "Scared of Liam's behavior," she said. "He's been so angry lately. So unpredictable. And last night he didn't touch you," I said coldly. Her eyes filled with perfectly timed tears. "Margaret, I know you want to believe the best about him, but I'm telling the truth. He threatened me. He said he hated me. He tried to—" "Stop," I said sharply. "Your performance is wasted on me. Save it for the court that's going to charge you with perjury." She blinked, her expression faltering for half a second before she recovered. "A court?" "Margaret, I was the one who was attacked." "No," I said. "You staged the attack. You hit Liam first. Then you hit yourself to create the bruise." She stiffened again, too quickly. She wasn't expecting me to be so direct. "I don't know what you're talking about," she whispered. "You will," I said, "because there are things you didn't plan for." Her jaw twitched. Andrew looked between us nervously. "Cassie, did you hit yourself?" She turned her gaze to him, instantly flipping to her fragile persona again. "Baby, of course not. Why would I do that?" "Oh, I can think of several reasons," I said. "Control, money, manipulation, and your history proves it." She froze. There. That was the crack I needed. "History?" Andrew asked, confused. "What history?" Cassie kept her eyes on me like she was begging me not to open that door. So I kicked it wide open. "You've done this before," I said. "Multiple times. 3 different families. Domestic disturbances. Inheritance conflicts. Convenient injuries. Emergency protective orders. All filed by you. All with strikingly similar patterns." Andrew's face went pale. "Margaret," Cassie whispered, her voice sharp now, the softness evaporating. "I know every detail," I said. "And I'll prove it." Cassie's eyes narrowed, the mask slipping further. She realized something then. I wasn't just a grandmother. I wasn't just an annoyance. I was someone who could expose her entire empire of manipulation. She shifted tactics instantly. "You're doing this because you never liked me," she said. "You're attacking me because I'm younger, because I have a connection with Andrew that you've always been jealous of." I actually laughed. "You really think this is about you being young?" "No, Cassie. This is about you being a predator." Her face hardened. She could feel control slipping from her fingers. "Andrew," she said, turning to him with a trembling voice, "please don't let her lie to you. She hates me." "She always has." "Actually," I said calmly, "I don't hate you. I study you. And I know you better than you think." She looked at me like she wanted to strike me. Instead, she stood abruptly, pacing like a cornered animal. "You think you know everything," she hissed. "You think just because you were a cop, you can come into my home and accuse me? You have no proof." "Oh, but I do," I said, "and more is coming." She froze mid-step. "Proof of what?" Andrew asked, voice shaking. "Her lies," I said. "Her manipulation, her assaults, her pattern, her accomplices." Cassie glared at me. "You don't have anything." Actually, I had more than she realized. Linda had been busy. "Liam's friend Lucas has the text messages from last night," I said. "The ones you deleted from Andrew's phone?" Her face drained of color. "And the neighbor's security camera caught you standing outside the house before the incident," I added. "No bruise. Perfectly fine, healthy." Cassie didn't breathe. "And the pharmacy has a record of you buying bruising makeup 2 weeks ago." Her hands clenched. "And the candlestick?" I leaned forward. "You didn't get rid of the blood on the base. Forensics will pull the residue." Cassie's lips parted. She looked truly terrified. But not of Andrew, not of consequences. She was terrified because she was losing control. Andrew stepped back from her as if she were radioactive. "Cassie, tell me this isn't true," he said, voice breaking. She tried to speak, but the words tangled. She had nothing. No more lies. No more rehearsed stories. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "This ends now," I told her. "You hurt my grandson. You threatened my family. You think you're smarter than everyone in the room, but you're not smarter than me." Her eyes lifted slowly, hatred blazing through the fear. "You'll regret this," she whispered. "No," I said. "But you will." Andrew sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. His world was shattering, and Cassie knew it. She turned toward him with sudden desperation. "Andrew, please, don't touch me," he said, voice shaking with anger. That was the moment Cassie realized she'd lost him. And that was the moment she snapped. Her expression twisted, all sweetness gone. She looked at me like I had ruined her life. In reality, I had only just begun. Cassie's face twisted into something primal, something unmasked. For a second, she didn't even bother pretending to cry. She looked at me with a hatred so sharp it felt like the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Then she turned back to Andrew, desperate, unhinged. "You're really going to believe her over me?" she demanded, voice shaking. "After everything I've done for you? After everything we've been through?" Andrew stared at her, broken. "Cassie, I don't know what to believe anymore." "You don't know?" she shrieked. "You don't know? Margaret has poisoned you against me since day one. She's been brainwashing you." "Oh, please," I said, standing. "If I had been trying to brainwash him, trust me, he wouldn't have married you." She snapped her head toward me so fast her hair whipped across her cheek. "You ruined everything," she whispered. "Everything I worked for. That told me everything." Her marriage wasn't a love story. It was a strategy. Victim, control, isolation, elimination. That was her cycle. But what she didn't understand was that every pattern eventually breaks, especially when it runs into something stronger. "Get out of my house," Andrew said suddenly. She spun toward him, eyes wide. "What?" "Pack your things and leave," he said, voice cold. "Right now. For a moment she simply stared at him, stunned. "You can't be serious. I'm done," he said. "You hurt my son. You lied to me. You used me." "No," she whispered. "No, Andrew, you don't understand. I did it because you wanted control," I cut in. "Because you wanted his money. Because Liam stood in your way." Cassie shook her head violently. No, it wasn't like that. I love him. I love both of them." "If this is love," I said, "God help anyone who ever cared about you." Her eyes flicked toward me again. That's when I saw something shift behind them. A dangerous calculation. She wasn't going to cry or beg. She wasn't done. She was planning something else. She moved toward the staircase. Fine. I'll go pack." "Don't let her go upstairs alone," I said immediately. Andrew nodded, stepping forward. "I'll go with you." She glared at me, but she didn't argue. As they disappeared up the stairs, I called Linda on speaker. "It's time," I said. "She's unraveling." "Everything is coming apart." Linda let out a breath. "We're ready." "Call me when she leaves the house. She won't go quietly. She never does." I paced the living room, alert, hyper-aware of every noise. I listened to the muffled argument upstairs. Cassie insisting she didn't do anything wrong, Andrew demanding answers. At one point, I heard something slam, probably a drawer, then footsteps. Then shouting. Then silence. The silence scared me more than anything. A second later, Andrew shouted, "Mom!" I sprinted up the stairs. He stood at the doorway of the master bedroom, pointing at the closet. "She's gone." "Gone?" In a matter of seconds, no, she didn't disappear. She ran. The window in the back hallway was open. The screen was pushed outward. I rushed to look outside and spotted her. A blur of blue sweater and red hair, sprinting across the backyard and slipping into the neighbor's gate. "She's fleeing," I said. "She's panicking." Andrew stumbled beside me. "Mom, what do? We stop her." I called Linda again. She ran. Backyard. Heading toward Oak Ridge Lane. "I'm 2 minutes away," Linda said. "Stay there. 2 minutes." But Cassie could do a lot in 2 minutes. Andrew leaned against the wall, shaking. "Mom, I never thought she was capable of this." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "People like her don't show their true face until they're cornered. You didn't fail. She deceived you." He swallowed hard. "What happens now?" "Now we make sure she can't hurt Liam again." Linda arrived with 2 patrol units. Officers fanned out across the neighborhood, searching yards, alleys, porches. Cassie was slippery, but she wasn't invisible. She was emotional, impulsive, and running on fear, and fear always leads to mistakes. We waited in the living room, tense, listening to police radios crackle. Then an officer's voice came through. "Possible sighting near Ridgeview Park. Female matching description, on foot. Running toward the wooded trail." My heart dropped. "That's where Liam and Andrew used to go hiking," I whispered. "She knows the area." Linda grabbed her keys. "Let's go." Andrew and I followed her in my car. When we reached the park, officers were already moving toward the trees with flashlights. Linda pulled me aside. "Stay here." "The hell I will," I said. She gave up arguing. We entered the trail, flashlights cutting through the thick shadows. The trees creaked in the wind. Dry leaves cracked under our boots. Then we heard it. Crying. Not mournful, not scared. Angry crying. We followed the sound. Cassie stood in a clearing near the creek, hair wild, makeup streaked, her hands shaking violently. She was talking to herself, pacing in circles. When she saw us, she froze. Her eyes locked onto Andrew first. "You ruined my life," she hissed. Then she looked at me. "No," she said. "You did." She took 1 step back, toward the edge of the slope near the water. A dangerous place. One wrong movement and she could fall. "Cassie," Linda said, stepping forward carefully, "I need you to stay still. Don't come near me," Cassie screamed. All of you ruined everything. I loved him. I did everything for him. And she She pointed at me, shaking so hard her finger trembled. She turned him against me. She turned all of you against me. Linda kept her voice steady. Cassie, come with us. We're going to sort this out. No, she screamed. I'm not going to jail. I'm not losing everything. Cassie, I said quietly, listen to me. She glared at me with pure rage. You took Andrew from me, and now you're taking my future. I didn't take anything, I said. You destroyed your own future. You hurt an innocent child. You lied. You manipulated. And it ends today, she shook her head wildly. No, no, no. Suddenly she turned to run again, but the ground beneath her crumbled. Her foot slipped. She lost her balance. Andrew shouted, Cassie! Linda lunged forward, but it was too late. Cassie tumbled down the muddy slope, sliding toward the shallow creek below. She fell hard, but not fatally. When she tried to stand, officers were already rushing down after her. She was screaming, struggling, kicking, but they restrained her. Her screams echoed through the trees like a wounded animal. It was over. Finally, it was over. They hauled her up the slope in handcuffs. She kept her eyes locked on me the entire time. You think you've won? She hissed. This isn't over. I'll destroy you for this. I stepped close, lowering my voice so only she could hear. No. You won't harm my family. You won't touch my grandson ever again. And the only thing you're going to destroy now is yourself. Her smile twisted. We'll see. Linda signaled the officers. They pulled her away. Andrew collapsed onto a bench, burying his face in his hands. I sat beside him, placing my hand gently on his back. He was shaking, struggling to breathe. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I pulled him close. You didn't do this. She did. And now we protect Liam. That's all that matters. As the sirens faded into the distance, I looked up at the sky. For a moment, it felt like the world was breathing again. But I knew this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning of exposing everything she'd done, not just to us, but to all her past victims. And I was going to make sure every single one of them saw justice. In the days that followed Cassie's arrest, my house felt heavier, like the air itself was holding its breath. Liam stayed close to me every waking moment. Sometimes he sat silently at the dining table doing homework. Other times he wandered the house like he was making sure it was real, that he was truly safe now. Trauma does strange things to the mind. It bends time, makes hours feel like minutes and minutes feel like hours. But slowly, very slowly, the color began returning to his voice. The tightness around his eyes eased. He slept through the night for the first time in days. And every time he smiled, it reminded me why I had gone to war for him. Andrew, on the other hand, was still rebuilding himself from the inside out. He stayed at my house more often than not. Whenever he looked at Liam, the guilt in his expression was unmistakable. Raw, heavy, almost painful. One night, after Liam had gone to bed, Andrew approached me in the kitchen. Mom, he said quietly, how did I not see any of this? I didn't speak immediately. I wanted to choose my words carefully. Because love blinds us, I said finally, and because Cassie made sure you never saw the truth. She built walls around you, slowly, silently, until you didn't even realize you were trapped inside them. He lowered himself onto a chair, elbows on his knees. I feel like a fool. You're not a fool, I said, sitting beside him. You're human. And she preyed on that. He rubbed his face. I believed her over Liam. I believed her more than my own son. I placed a gentle hand on his arm. And now you're here. And you're seeing the truth with your own eyes. That's what matters. Liam forgives you more than you think. Andrew swallowed hard. I don't deserve it. Maybe not, I said honestly, but you're his father. And he wants you back, so start there. Later that night, Andrew sat by Liam's bed and talked to him for nearly an hour. I didn't listen, but I could feel the weight of their words from the hallway, and I knew something was healing between them, quietly, slowly, but surely. The next morning, Linda called with a tone I recognized immediately. Something big had shifted. "Margaret," she said, "you're going to want to sit down. I'm listening." We dug deeper into Cassie's records. The pattern goes back a decade, 3 major cases before yours. One man ended up losing everything: job, house, custody of his child. Another was hospitalized after she staged an accident and blamed him. The third? Well, his daughter nearly took her own life because of the emotional damage Cassie inflicted. My stomach tightened. "That poor girl, she's alive," Linda said, because her aunt intervened at the last second. "But she still struggles, and Cassie walked away every time. Yes, untouched. Protected by expensive lawyers and loopholes. But this time, she slipped. Hard. Good," I whispered. "She needs to answer for all of them." "She will," Linda said. "And she'll face charges not just for Liam, but for those past cases too. The victims are willing to testify." I let out a long breath. "Thank God. It's not over," Linda said, "but it's going in the right direction." After we hung up, I stood by the window staring out at the street. For the first time in weeks, the world felt still. Not peaceful, not yet, but still. Later that afternoon, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, a woman stood there clutching a folder. Her eyes were tired, lined with years of emotional exhaustion. "Mrs. Dable." "Vance?" she asked quietly. "Yes, I'm Patricia Millen," she said. "Linda told me I could find you here. She was one of Cassie's past victims. Please come in," I said immediately. She stepped inside with a hesitant, fragile grace. When she sat on the sofa, her hands trembled slightly. "I heard what your family is going through," she said, "and I'm so sorry. I know what that woman is capable of." Her gaze drifted to the framed photo of Liam on the mantel. "When she targeted us," Patricia whispered, "we thought we were alone. That no one would believe us. And for years, no one did." "I believe you," I said softly. "And you're not alone anymore." She closed her eyes, breathing shakily. "Thank you." We spoke for nearly an hour. She told me stories too painful to imagine. Lies Cassie spun. Evidence she manipulated. A father who lost custody because Cassie convinced a judge he was unstable. A daughter who stopped speaking for months after Cassie's psychological torture. By the time Patricia left, something inside me had solidified. A purpose deeper than revenge. This wasn't just about my family anymore. This was about every family Cassie had broken. The next week felt like a march toward justice, slow, deliberate, and unstoppable. Andrew filed for divorce. Custody of Liam was granted fully to him. The emergency protective order Cassie filed was overturned, and Cassie herself sat behind bars raging, her manipulations unraveling one by one. The court hearing was long and painful. Cassie tried every tactic, crying, screaming, blaming me, blaming Andrew, even claiming the police were corrupt. None of it worked. When the judge listed the charges, assault, child endangerment, evidence tampering, fraud, and more, Cassie's mask finally shattered. Her face twisted, her eyes wild. She looked at me like I'd pulled the ground out from beneath her. And maybe I had, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt done, exhausted, relieved, and quietly proud. After the hearing, as we walked out of the courthouse, Liam slipped his hand into mine. "Grandma?" he asked. "Yes, sweetheart. Are we safe now?" I squeezed his hand gently. "Yes, we're safe." He looked up at me with a small, relieved smile, the kind that told me the storm that nearly ripped our family apart was finally clearing. That evening, we sat together, me, Andrew, and Liam, in the living room. The house was quiet except for the soft ticking of the clock. "I don't deserve either of you," Andrew said. But Liam leaned against him and whispered, "You're my dad. That's all that matters." I felt tears sting my eyes. Sometimes revenge isn't about rage. Sometimes it's about protection. About rebuilding what someone else tried to destroy. Cassie thought she could tear us apart. Instead, she strengthened us. I wrapped my arms around my family, my son and my grandson, and realized something I had needed to feel for a long time. We won. Because family, when defended fiercely, becomes unbreakable. If you enjoyed this story and want more powerful, emotional, cinematic revenge stories told in first person just like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Your support helps bring more real-life inspired stories to life.